Good morning, everybody, and I welcome you all to our live session today. Wishing you all a very happy, all Indians a very happy Republic Day. So, let's start with our session. It's not easy to be a business owner. The numerous key decisions a business owner must take to build strong company foundations and make targeted investments is quite a stressful thing at times. It's unsurprising that out of a large number of businesses starting out each year, only a small percentage of them succeed. Growing a small business in today's economy entails overcoming increasingly fierce competition and distinguishing yourself from even the greatest corporations. So, this might be a concern, especially during the COVID 19 and its endless waves. But it's also important to remember that though every large scale organization started small, you may ensure a profitable future for your company by utilizing smart and approachable plans. Here we are today to have a power packed panel discussion where we'll talk about ideas and approaches that a traditional and small businesses need to implement to scale themselves up in 2022. So we have, as we say at Action Coach, we are here to make it work for you while we are a team of real people getting real results. So with this, let's start. And I'd like to introduce our speakers today. First, we have Coach Ratish Pandey, who's based out of New Delhi. Ratish comes with over 35 years of corporate experience in India and overseas, and now is a business coach. As a business coach, he utilizes his lifelong learnings and experiences to assist SME business owners in addressing their challenges and helping them achieve higher growth in their business, their team, as well as in their personal goals. In addition to this, he also spends time in mentoring and coaching startups. Next, we have Vijay Johar, who's based out of Jaipur, a certified business coach and a third generation entrepreneur. He started his journey in business at the age of 17 by joining his family business. And now, as a trained business coach, he believes in changing lives and making business owners and entrepreneurs more sustainable, more profitable. And over the years, with his professional knowledge, which has multiplied leaps and bounds, he helps with impacting proven strategies and techniques to boost businesses. Next, we have Mr. Gaurav Maria, the chairman of Franchise India, the man who brought Action Coach to India. He believes in the mantra of to learn, grow, innovate, and ideate each day, every day. The closest thing to a born entrepreneur and the person who revolutionized franchising and franchise industry, not just in India, but all over the world. And finally, the introducing the moderator of the session today, Coach Sanjay Kanakia, who's based out of Pune. Sanjay comes with a rich experience of being a business owner, a leadership facilitator, as well as a certified business coach. He is uniquely positioned to guide enterprising businesses and business owners to achieve their personal and professional goals and live a lifestyle that they deserve. He aims to provide business coaching and mentoring services to grow and grow to growth-oriented business owners all over India, helping them excel in their individual goals as well as with their team and with effective communication. So, with this, I would like to hand it over to the moderator.
Thank you, Mansi, and a warm welcome to all our panelists and all the viewers across India, and a very warm wishes to you for the 73rd Republic Day, and the best wishes for the 2022. We've had interesting years. I mean, I would say interesting because the lack of better word right now for 2020 and 2021. Most businesses have had huge challenges. Some of them have really thrived, but a lot of the businesses that I've been working with, and especially the SMEs business space, it's been a big challenge. And just about when in end of 2021, we were looking at things now moving in the positive direction. We've had the terrible Delta wave of last year done and dusted with. We come across the Omicron. Oh my God. And that's where we stand today in January with this wave that we are in, though seems to be waning right now. But again, there is a questionable challenge for people to plan their 2022. I come from a family business as myself, a 50-year-old company in a brick and mortar business. And the challenge remains that how do you now plan for this new year for sustaining and growing your business, especially? And some of the big ideas that people have been talking about for the SME business space is what we want to discuss today. And I want to launch into it right away without much ado. Coach Ratish, can I bring you in? And people are talking about we need some big ideas for 2022. How can you help a business owner like me, for example, with some big ideas?
Thank you, Sanjay. And let me start by thanking everybody who's on this LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live. Really appreciate your time on this Republic Day. So happy Republic Day. Best wishes for today. And obviously, great to be part of this panel and some eminent panelists at that. Let me start by talking about what you just mentioned, Sanjay. You know, in the last 18 months or so, actually 21 months now, especially in India, there has been, words that have been doing the rounds, right? When you look at the employee side of things, it's the great resignation that the HR community is talking about. It's the 4-day work week. Take care of your employees at the corporate level. How do we ensure that there's less stress and things like that? And then obviously on the flip side, there is the gig economy where a lot of people are moving and letting go of their jobs and moving into a gig space. The talent crunch, of course, every entrepreneur that I coach today is challenged with getting the right people. Then, of course, we hear of the words like big data, AI, ML, IoT, and everything else that is coming around down the pipe. But really, today, I think, Sanjay, it'll be great if we really get back to the basics, really look at what is it, because ultimately, what I find is, yes, as entrepreneurs, we need to keep these new things that are coming down the pipe in our mind. But I would say going back to the basics probably would be a great way to kick off the 2022 and ensure that the fourth and the fifth wave, as they come, we are, and as entrepreneurs, we are all fully ready to sort of take them on. Over to you, Sanjay.
Thanks, Ratish. So, if I understand you right, what you're really saying is that before we talk about building big and companies with these big ideas for the new year, it's important that we get our foundation right. And if you look at the last couple of years, as you mentioned, it's not been short of an earthquake that has shooken and cracked our foundations. Let me bring Coach Vijay in. Coach Vijay, what do you think, when you look at the foundational principles of building a business, especially in the SME space, what do you think that we should focus on to start with?
So thank you, Sanjay. And as Ratish rightly said, I think getting back to the basics, and I think the foundation here is the business owner or the leader of that particular organization. Whenever I coach business owners, these business owners always come up to me and say that, okay, there is a frustration with the team is not performing, the systems are not moving in the way that I wanted to move. It is because you are not acting in the way your team should act. So everything starts with you here. So when everything starts with you, the foundation also starts with you. So I would like to give 4 big takeaways right now to all the business owners listening out here, that how you should make your foundation very strong. Number 1, identify where you want to take your business to, what you want to make your business maybe 5 years or 10 years down the line. Identify that vision. If you do not have that finishing line in sight, you're not going anywhere there. You need to identify your why. Why are you in business? What are the problems are you solving? When you get this connected to yourself, I think your emotions are equally connected to your goals and your plans that you want to achieve in business. So one is the vision and why that you need to identify. In an SME business owner, this is something seldom I find whenever I talk to them. Number two, work on your plan and goals. So when I say work on your plan and goals, it's very important to manage yourself. There is nothing called time management. You cannot manage time. What you can manage is you can manage yourself. So second most important factor is how are you going to manage yourself and keep yourself focused on the things that are very important. Are you just going to firefight? Are you just going to do the things that are barged on you? No. You need to strategize, you need to plan, you need to focus on the goals that you want to achieve, because you cannot find any team member to do all these things that we just mentioned about. And the last but the most important factor, I think, where we coaches come in very handy, are keeping the business owner accountable towards it. If there is nobody who's going to review on a daily basis where you're going, are you sticking to your goals? Are you sticking to your plans? How much of your time are you giving to your work, which is supposed to be done on that particular day? I think that is what makes a difference to the business owner's foundation on how he can actually walk the talk, how he can lead by example to his team, that how work is done, rather than being somebody else and talking about something else. I think that is how the foundation of a business owner today stands apart. And that is my takeaway on this, Sanjay.
Thank you. Very, very valid points, Vijay, to talk about your foundational principles. And I think we're going to allude to all the 4 points that you talked about. But I want to really start with the first one. And that's the little, esoteric stuff that we talked about, is the vision. I'd like to bring in Gaurav. Gaurav, you work with so many different businesses and different business owners, right? And what is your sense? The clarity of vision sometimes in an SME business space is a big challenge. And why so? Why is it becoming, not becoming, but why is it a challenge for people to actually have some clarity on where they really want to go?
A good question, and thank you for inviting me part of this panel. And I think all three of you are great coaches and doing great work in helping SMEs. My firm is also Franchise India, and Action at Large works with all SMEs. And you rightly said, I mean, the setting a vision sometimes is a very big problem in as a mindset with SME. SME itself is a mindset, right? So SME means that I will only do so much, I can only grow so much. So that's a mindset. Unless and until you first break that mindset. I was sitting with the one of SMEs who actually asked me a funny question. He says, "Look, now these days companies which have no profit, are losing money, are getting more valued. Why would traditional businesses not get valued?" And the answer I gave that was that you need to understand what is the purpose and problem you're solving. If you're not solving any purpose or not a problem, then you have no business. That's one. Second, if you don't even understand what is your total addressable market, and you just make your own world, small world, and keep continuing to do that, then also it's not worth it. So if these are issues which are mindset issues, and unless and until SME changes that mindset, and so the earlier days, the SME mindset was clearly hard work and the arbitrage of I bought something at X and made my margin in that and sold it at X plus Y. So that was the whole business models, and that's what we're running in. And that has changed now drastically. It's all about business intelligence. It's all knowing what people want, how they're going to change. And that SME doesn't have that. And unless and until SME is designed to change their mindset, understand whatever they do, what problem they're trying to solve, and what is this large addressable market which they can capture, that would really define where the opportunity is, and then they can firm up their goals to achieve those phased wise opportunity. That's my set, and today I am working a lot on that mindset with SMEs, because if they change that mindset and come out of this whole SME mindset itself, it would change everything in their life. So over to you, Sanjay.
Thank you, Gaurav. Very, very insightful about it's where it starts from, is the mindset, and of course that's how once you define your mindset, then you can define the market. And when you look at the marketing and the sales strategy, Ratish, we need to understand that once you get the mindset right, how do you then focus on getting to the right market and the right sales strategy. That becomes the biggest challenge, to align those two. You have your mindset right, then get your marketing strategy right? So over to you.
True. And, I love the point that Gaurav talked about, the X plus Y mindset, which is I'm buying it for X, adding Y profit, and just selling it ahead. And that really today is not going to hold us in good stead. Absolutely not. And great point, Gaurav, there. Really appreciate that, bringing it on the table. So when we look at marketing, I think the key issue that comes into play really is where do we find our customers? Because once we have determined the why, and once, as Vijay mentioned, we have determined what the problem we are ready to solve, then the next question is, who are these consumers who are going to consume our products and services? And what has happened in the recent 18, 19 months, I think the big shift that has happened is that our consumers, and in any domain you are in, the way the consumers are today buying products and services has changed. you know Psychologists say that it takes 3 weeks to form a habit. Well, these consumers have been following a different way for the last 18, 19 months, right? So they have changed. So what do we need to do as entrepreneurs? We absolutely need to find where our consumers are and be present there. So if your products and services now are more available on the virtual platform, absolutely you need to be present there. If your products and if your consumers still continue to thrive brick and mortar kind of environments, you need to be present there, right? So I think that is one key that will help you define what your go to market strategy is. What is it that you want to, and how do you want to lay it out further, and in going forward, how do you ensure that you are able to reach your consumers and then make the best out of that reach? So once you've got a customer, you need to think how you're going to ensure that that customer continues with you, uh, and continues to come back to you. And for that, I believe there are a couple of things that you know I love to talk about. And again, you may have heard of this example many times, but I believe that's one of the better examples these days. You look at most and better successful companies, they offer two key things, right? One is the consistency, and the other is ease to buy, making it easy for the consumers to buy their products and services. You look at the likes of Google Pays or Paytms or even Amazon, it's very easy for consumers to buy products and services on those platforms. So look at that, where your consumers are, and meet them there. Back to you, Sanjay.
Thanks, Satish. Very interesting that you point out that psychologists say that it takes about 3 weeks to form habits. And it's been about 18, 19 months, and all the consumers have got into making different habits of how they consume things. But the key question arises that has 18, 19 months been enough for us as business owners to change the habits, the old habits that we had formed, right? We still tend to stick to the old habits of doing things, and we believe that just because COVID is over, we'll go back to how things have to be done. But the consumer has changed, as you rightly pointed out, Ratish. And what you really alluded to, talking about consistency and ease to buy, what you're really referring to, I think, is having a systematic way of running your business. And if I get that right? And it's interesting how we're talking about this on our Republic Day, which we actually is, if I look at it from my perspective, is a day we put in systems and processes of governance, right? Yeah. And we celebrate this. But why is it so difficult for the SME business spaces to understand the importance of systems and processes? And if they are participating in celebration of how Republic Day is celebrated, why not do this Republic Day in your own company? Gaurav, what do you think? I would like to understand, when you work with so many businesses, and especially in a franchise business where everything is about setting up systems and processes, what are the key challenges here?
So good question, very good question. And rather, I think these days I'm doing a lot of work in terms of valuation of businesses and how to make businesses more valuable. And one of the things I really talk about is that the day a business owner makes himself redundant in his own business, the business becomes valuable. So, which means that you know more required in your own business. And that can only happen if you are a system driven business organization. But before you even jump on doing that, and a lot of people start hiring people who can write SOPs for them and putting systems and so on forward, engaging digital platforms or softwares and so on forth. You need to know your business itself. Business is a science, and unless and until you define every single part of your business and why it is done and what it takes to do that, unless and until you define that, and a business owner is a good guy, in terms of his own understanding of our business. As a small business owner, you know every part of your business, but you never document it. You always were in the business. You never get on the business and try to understand how the business works. And if you understand each process and able to draw, and then I think you will be able to easily delegate. And if you are able to delegate, then your business would become more valuable. And then you can actually duplicate it also, and then you can also start scaling it. So a lot of work we do now is to really help these companies to do this journey. And journey is really from first defining your business, putting a science to your business, then start delegating, put process owners. Each process is run by a process owner, and then it goes to the fully automated life cycle. So hope I answered Sanjay on this.
Yes, you did, Gaurav. Thanks so much on that. And I'm going to now put spotlight on Vijay, because Vijay is a business owner like me, apart from being a coach. And when we wear two hats, Vijay, it is always a big challenge when you look at how does a business owner put in the systems and processes, or what Gaurav talked about, how does he understand what is in the business and what is working on the business? And the challenge lies there. I think if we get that right, then getting everything else really becomes the easy part. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Gaurav mentioned is actually very important, because business owners just knows everything about his business, and he thinks that he is the best man to do everything that is there, every function. But what is important here is, unless and until, so I'll give you an analogy here. So think about, you get a machine at your office place, and what is the first thing that comes out when you open the carton? It's the manual, right? And you throw out that manual and start assembling that machine and put it to work. What happens? So 90% chances that machine is not going to work, or even if it works well, after 30 minutes or something is going to happen and it's going to malfunction. The problem here is that whenever we are looking for these system and processes to be put in place, every time there is a team member who leaves, and the business owner again gets stuck in training and again informing the new guy how it is to be done. He's again investing his precious time in doing all this over and over again. And this cycle never stops. So the first thing we need to understand, to put these systems and processes into place, is we need to create how-to manuals for every profile in our business. Once we get this how-to manuals for every profile in our business, we just hand out this manual to every person who joins our company. Ask him that please go through this manual, understand it, and come back to me if you have any questions, to get that clarified and get him to work in just the next 2 days of his joining. So when putting systems and processes to place, that is what actually I did in my business when I was accustomed with this particular knowledge. I think this how-to manuals helped me a lot. Now, after this, the most crucial part is, are you test and measuring, or are you reviewing this particular system, that if it's working to the best possible way? If you are going to work on improvements by reviewing this regularly, your profiles and your how-to manuals of every profile in your business is only going to get better by the day. And as you get perfect on this, I think this whole system and processes is being run like something which is a dream for an SME business owner, what Gaurav mentioned, without his presence in the business. I think that is the whole key of an SME business owner evolving and working on the business rather than just getting into every function of the business. Over to you, Sanjay.
Great. But the challenge, I think, also lies in the fact that what is the identity of the business owner? And when you are saying, or what Gaurav and you both mentioned, that that the business owner needs to be redundant, And the challenge here is that can the business owner really even believe or even imagine that he becomes redundant in the business that he's totally built? And that's the big challenge. Ratish, you are a chartered accountant and you understand, you get into the detailing of things, right? And I want you to tell me in detail, what do you think is where the identity challenge lies with the business owner?
Great question. I think the biggest, and I think I must commend Gaurav and Vijay for bringing this piece right up front for all of us. Most, and again, sort of, pardon me for being not gender correct, but most businessmen believe that when they are busy men, their business is absolutely the right hands. So, folks, don't be busy men, be businessmen. And that is where I think the key identity issue comes into play. And that is really, I think the point that both Gaurav and Vijay were trying to mention, that you know, and I think it also stems a lot from the way traditional businesses have been followed and done over the time and over the years. This sense of control and the sense that I need to see everything that is happening in my business and I need to have a finger on everything that is happening in my business really makes the businessman bogged down with more detailing, and rather than getting over it and working on not urgent and important stuff. So this is where I think once you stop being employed by a business is where you make the transition. And to Gaurav's point, once you stop being employed by a business, that is where probably the maximum value you get from your business. Because once you stop being employed, you actually stop working for the money and the business starts working for you. So this is where I would say the key issue for most of the entrepreneurs is focus on the uh, important and not urgent stuff, and that probably is I would say the key thing that I would want to bring it forward. Over to you, Sanjay.
I noticed Gaurav has something to say. It is at his tip of his tongue. Gaurav, I really want to bring you in. What is
I think he rightly said, Tish said right, that it is all about putting, important things, and you look at the cycle of business, so you have one, what I call ideation stage, which is very enjoying. And then there's a execution, and then there's a troubleshooting. What people start with ideation, they're excited, they want to build something big. Then execution takes them over completely. Execution, they are only involved in that. And then finally they actually shift into troubleshooting. So every business owner, I think 80% of his time is troubleshooting. And they don't enjoy that part, right? So they have never started the business to do that, but they get into trap of this. So how do you really come out of that and go back to what you enjoyed, which is the ideation? You always wanted to create something new, different, and so on and so forth. And I think that's what action does beautifully, because we really create a purpose. We create a purpose and move them from where they are, and they get into the trap of being all the time troubleshooting, and they don't have even attention time. They're doing things, they have to do it just for sake of it. And I think that's a transition to bring them back to ideation table and to start thinking about how they can really build a better purpose for their organization. That's, I think, is a very beautiful journey which action really does. And I strongly recommend, if people have not really consulted our coaches, they should. So I took this opportunity, Sanjay, just to mention a little bit of that.
So I think you really brought on when you talked about systems and processes and the mindset. A lot of times when we speak to business owners, and I think Ratish and Coach Vijay, you would also agree that it's all said and good that people said, okay, we should delegate stuff and put in systems and processes, but where are the people? As an SME business owner myself, we live in a country of 1.4 billion people. And you ask any SME business owner and you say, where are the people? I can't get right people who will run my processes, who will run my system, who will do my troubleshooting, who will do my firefighting for me. In that absence, I am still working in the business. I love the idea of working on the business, but it is just not possible. And that's essentially the challenge of the people part of the business, and it is a big deal. I mean, we have to address it, and especially in this no work from home post COVID era that we are going to enter into right now, it is going to be challenged to get the right people and obviously to retain them. Sorry. So Vijay, as a SME business owner, what is the challenge of getting people to join SME businesses? What do you think is the challenge?
I think we come back to the mindset issue here. So if you ask yourself or ask anybody here, where do Tata, Amazon, Reliance, all these companies that we admire, you and me admire, everybody admires actually, where do these people come from? They come from the same crowd where we source people, right? So the first thing is that you need to understand people are right there, right in front of you, I would say. It is just that the identification is not done properly. I think the first part is, instead of, the mode of selection, we should go into the mode of deselection. Who actually doesn't fit our criteria, you should actually take out that. Automatically you get in the best person out of the lot. I think number one. Number two, I think people feel people are or team members are generally more attracted towards bigger organizations. Bigger organizations are there, that's why they want to work there. It is not, the case is not that. Please try to understand what these bigger organizations are doing right. And I think the first thing that they're doing right is they are bringing in a culture for all these team members to have a platform to learn and to improve themselves. I think that culture which they bring in, which defines the principles, ethics, rules of the organization, is something that everybody in that organization is confined to, be it the owner, be it the team member, be it the managing director. I think that culture itself doesn't exist in an SME. So the first thing I think every business owner should understand is to define that culture in your organization. Number two is, every team member that comes into an organization, of course, your goal as a business owner is that he should earn me money. That's fine. But what are you giving him? Unless and until he feels that he is growing in that organization, he's not going to help you to earn money. Definitely not. So we need to take care as a business owner about these trainings, about keeping him up to date. Because this guy is with limited resources, but you as a business owner have unlimited resources to learning, and you have learned so many other things. Why not impart that knowledge? Because one underlying fact is, only when a person or every team member in an organization grows, only then there is a holistic growth in the organization. Number three, and the last point I would like to put here, is that you need to make the place an inclusive workplace for everyone. By that, I mean you need to get feedback from every team member regarding that departmental work or regarding the work in the organization that is carried out. Because when you're putting system and processes into play, you're asking them to do the work. When they are doing the work, they are the right people to let you know what are the bottlenecks, what is the kind of feedback, or what are the kind of improvements that you need to do, which is a Kaizen approach, which we always say to our business owners, which is never ending improvement. So these regular feedback meetings are very, very critical. And that is how these bigger organizations that we admire work. So I think three main things, which if we can easily carry out as business owners, we will automatically attract great talent, which is right out there. One is defining your culture. Two, keeping them up to date and keeping them trained to be great individuals. And number three, I think making your business an inclusive workplace by giving them an equal opportunity of feedback and making them feel a part of the organization and just not a staff member.
Very, very well put, Vijay. And the key aspect here, and we talked about, is trying to attract right talent. And I would like to bring in Ratish here. There are a couple of points that Vijay mentioned were about good practices to retain your talent and prevent attrition. But attracting good talent, especially in the SME business space, is a big challenge when you are competing with brands. When people today have aspirational values to work with bigger names, how does an SME business owner still make his company and a business attractive enough that somebody should join it? So how do you attract good talent? Ratish, what is your inputs on that?
I think I must thank Vijay for his comments and thoughts, brilliant ones, because culture and all those things really, really impact what you do on a day-to-day basis. And once you have a set of employees who are doing well within the organization, are recognized, and as Vijay mentioned, very important element, inclusivity. Once that happens, how does an SME business owner attract new talent? I think the biggest piece I would say is building your employer brand. Now, you know, it's very easy to say, and most when I speak to a lot of SME owners, they say, "Oh yeah, we do marketing, we do digital marketing, we are on social media, and everything else that goes along with it." But being on social media and building your employer brand, I would say, are two separate things, right? And that building your employer brand is about talking about what you're doing for your employees. Not only that, and I knows and I coach some of the entrepreneurs who actually have employee videos on their website where the employees are talking about what they feel about working for that organization. So basically getting your existing employees to talk about the same. Uh, Talking about wherever you are meeting other people and even in social media, talking about what and how you are engaging your employees to really be above the line, right? When we say above the line, the concept being whether the employees have ownership, responsibility, and accountability. And once employees have that and they are in the how I can solve problems, believe me, Sanjay, a lot of things change for the organization. So really building that employer brand, getting your existing employees to talk about it, and and that really makes a huge difference in terms of the communication going out of the organization, and also for people who are outside the organization looking in. So when prospective employees are coming for interview, they look at all that and they look at your website, they look at how the employees are talking about the organization and everything. That makes a huge difference. uh, I'd also like to talk a little bit about the difference and if I may, the difference between what was happening probably when India attained independence and what is happening today, right? Probably for the first 30 years, 35 years, loyalty was everything. People sought government jobs because they could retire from there. Today, that's not the concept. The concept is completely changed, right? So the SME owners need to understand how to manage the Gen Zs against the Gen Ys, and how to manage the baby boomers also that they have employed, who are probably coming from their, the traditional business mindset, from employed by their parents and sort of continuing to work in the organization. And that dichotomy and that, the ability for the SME owner to have different hats when they are engaging with different levels of people really would make a huge difference also. Over to you, Sanjay.
Thanks. Thank you, Ratish. Very, very valuable inputs. And I'm going to ask this same last point that you brought in, Ratish, was about building your employer brand. And I would really like to bring in Gaurav, who is a master at building his brand of Franchise India, and how he has been able to get talent to work with him, as well as to bring in bigger brands to join hands with him. So, Gaurav, this is something that is really, you're the master at this.
You're putting me on a spot. Yeah, but yeah, so I think I have a very different viewpoint on today talent. So India never would suffer for not having the right talent. Or I would say getting a talent right, getting the right talent can be a problem, and that's what SMEs struggle with. They have a lot of people working for them, and every SME, I think sometimes I feel always overemployed. A lot of people than they need. I see very efficient companies. I worked with a German company. I went to their plant, and the entire plant had about 15 people, and this was almost 1 acre of plant, and they were very efficiently working in that, and everybody knew their job. And in the same position, if you go to a small factory in India, on the gate itself, you will see about 10 people sitting there doing nothing, and they would have 4 security guards, 2 drivers sitting in the same gate. and making no sense of it. So I think getting a talent is not important. Another thing which I always believe, that only 20% of talent in your organization matters, and that's one has to focus on, which is that 20%, and what difference we want from them and what they're going to contribute. Historically, SMEs wanted their staff to work harder. If you're staying late, more late than I think, working on weekends, working on this entire thing, you're counted to be a better person working in that. That mindset again has to change. So if you're looking for people to just who can really work hard for you or put more time with you, that might not be answer. While I still believe in hard work, I still believe in, and I think in that sense I'm old school in some sense. But I also feel that every organization needs some critical roles, and that has missing. I think SME missed that. So when you ask a startup, a good startup, there is a position in startup called growth hacker. And growth hacker is somebody who's the most critical resource they have, because he actually brings growth to the organization. And I feel that SMEs lack that. SME outside the entrepreneur himself is nobody out there who's thinking growth, who's thinking about how the company is going to be scaled. And I think these are the critical roles which you need to define. So I would say 3 or 4 critical roles which would contribute about 20% of your team. That has to be handpicked. And that's why these startups are very smart. They bring in co-founders. But SMEs don't. They struggle, and they sometimes have to compromise with their not so efficient family members. And I should say that, because sometimes I go and find that family is working together, and half of the family doesn't even know the business. So if you're a smart entrepreneur, you need to really understand that how do you get your growth hacker. And this is a term which every SME should really bring into their business. And some of our growth hackers can be our coaches, which really can give you the next level of growth.
Great inputs. Growth hacker is a new word I'm going to take back from today, and very interesting. And you really pointed out right that a lot of times the challenge again comes back to what we talked about, is the mindset issue with the business owner, that he believes that he is the whole and soul responsible for every aspect. The moment he can get through that mindset and allow himself to delegate this, including the growth part of the business, allowing other people to join into the growth story, that's when really the power of multiplication and compounding really kicks in.
And also, just to interfere, after 3 years, every SME gets into fatigue mode. He has no ability as an entrepreneur to think fresh. So if your business is come 3 years, I'm not saying 30 years. 30 years, you're almost finished. You're gone. 3 years, you get fatigued. Every employee who works in any company gets fatigued in 8 months.
Okay.
So you need fresh thinking, and that's why you need growth hacker.
Right. Very interesting, because I remember our founder Brad Sugars talk about this, saying that the business can only grow to the level of the competence of the business owner.
Absolutely.
And so whatever competency you have, it's going to last your business up to 3 years, and that's you run out of ideas. And unless you keep growing yourself or have somebody help you grow, you will keep hitting that ceiling, and as you said, you're dead or slowly decaying for sure. So constant growth from the growth mindset is the key to start with. We are almost hitting 45 minutes, and we have last 15 minutes, and there are quite a few questions that have come in on the chat box. I'm just kind of trying to get through as many as we can, but I'm going to ask any of you would like to take up this question in no particular order. But let's say first one, we have a LinkedIn user who said, how can business owners optimize marketing spends and stand out in a crowded space? And it comes down to this whole digital market being an opportunity for traditional businesses and a level playing field where big and small businesses can all participate. But a lot of SME businesses, and the question that our gentleman friend has mentioned, is how do you really leverage this power, and how do you optimize your spends? Ratish, would you want to take a shot at this?
Sure. I think it's an interesting question. And today, what we need to understand is, especially in the digital format, is that in the digital domain, you can measure marketing. So wherever we are looking at measured media, and where you can absolutely clearly understand the ROI on the marketing spends that you have, it becomes all the more important not only on the SME owner to understand, but also to the marketeer, whether it's in-house or the agency, as to where the customers are. So two things really stand out for me. Number one, defining your customer, especially when you look at a marketing plan. And most often, the SME business owners tells the marketing agency, "Oh, I need to be on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all the other platforms that you can think of." Right? It's not about being on all platforms. It's about, as I mentioned earlier, also, where is our customer? What is the customer persona? And what is the best format where, so basically being where our customer is going to be, number one, is most important. And number two, defining the right customer persona. If you are able to define the right customer persona, and that is where a lot of information you need to get and gather from your existing customers, because you are able to then work with the agency to define the right persona. And once you've defined the right persona, you know exactly which platforms actually they flock to. That is where you should hit the maximum with best results.
Okay,
Over to
thanks,
you.
thanks, Ratish. Vijay, you had to add something here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Ratish rightly mentioned about the persona, I think to put it in easy terms, the best way to look at it is one, of course, you have to budget your total expense, number one. And the next three steps should be what is your target audience? What is that you want to offer to your target audience? And how are you going to make that offer to the target audience? I think target, offer, copy. I think that is how you have to optimize your marketing. That because if it doesn't hit the right person, it is as good as just making arrows and flying it out in the open sky. Whether it hits or not, it doesn't matter. So I think that is very important what Ratish brought in. I think target, offer, and copy. I think that is how you need to optimize your marketing spends to the person actually who asked this question and to the all the viewers out here.
Right, what we typically talk about, the difference between the grenade and the sniper approach. You just lob the grenade and you expect something to happen, or we have a sniper and you're very clear
Yeah.
about who you're aiming for. Yeah,
True.
perfectly, very, very well put, Ratish and Vijay. Next question, I want to bring in Gaurav for this. I think you are ideally suited to answer this question. How can a single person entrepreneur accelerate his idea to transform to an SME, if not even higher than that?
Yeah, you should be higher than that. The whole, if objective of becoming an SME is an objective, then it is not a complete objective.
Right.
So idea should be to build something meaningful, which can then again, I said, solve a bigger problem, and that's something which one should really do that. But if you are really at an ideation stage and you want to get into this, do a little bit alpha beta, which means that get your business out there, which you incubate, and if you need capital, and this is another problem which a lot of SMEs really don't attempt to go out in the market to share their idea and raise capital. They continue to keep the idea with themselves and try to create micro funding which comes from their family or themselves, and the business is not able to scale. Today it's changed. If you really have a good idea, and this doesn't mean that you have to be a cutting edge technology idea or some disruption you have and things like that, and rather India has seen no disruption, and we've seen more unicorns than any part of the world. Last year we had about 23 unicorns, and no unique idea. So Ola was not unique, Flipkart was not unique, nothing was unique in India pretty much. We have actually copied somebody, and our timing was right. Timing to me is very, very important in business. So I count timing, your ability to go and impress investors who see vision in you and vision in your business and what you want to build, clear timelines and goals. I think you can get raise capital, and never limit your mindset again by saying that you want to be in life doing SME. If you want to be SME, better take a job. If you really want to create something much larger, which can continue to reproduce success, that's something which you should eye for, and that's my take on this. Rather, I'm pushing a lot of people to come out of the SME mindset. This SME is kind of telling you that you can only do so much, you cannot grow beyond this, you will always stay like that. So this should not be the entire thing. A scale is very critical now. Either you scale or you will not survive in the business. That's my take, Sanjay.
Excellent, excellent. Lovely input, Gaurav. And I totally buy what you say that though the question mentioned specifically is to transform to an SME business by Murugesh Kantharia. I really love what you just talked about. That you need to not aim for being an SME, but you need to be a global organization. Because unless you dream big, you really can't achieve the sky. And that is the big challenge. Why can't we dream bigger? Why do we limit that? And that's a very valid point, Gaurav. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to the next question, and by Hardik Verma on LinkedIn. As business owners looking for expansion, what are the 3 to 4 major attributes to keep in mind when it comes to bringing in some money from outside? I think, Gaurav, you talked about it, but I'd like to bring in Ratish and Vijay if you have to add anything. 3, 4 major attributes to think about when you're trying to bring in some money from the outside.
Okay, I think it's pretty simple these days, especially given the fact that we have been, and with, sorry to bring that name in this discussion, but we've been Shark Tanked for the last, I think, 60 days or so with the deluge of startup discussion. So, and this is really about, if you start thinking like a startup, what would people look at, right? Most often, investors look at typically 3 key things, right? One is the founder. If you're a strong founder, believe me, money comes easy because people understand that you have the ability to pivot, you have the resilience to take the rough and tumble of the entrepreneurship. Those are 2 key things that most investors look for. The second thing that people look for very clearly is, do you have a problem to solve? So do you have an interesting idea or a problem that you're solving? And the number 3, third thing is very clearly, what is the size of the market that problem will solve? If you have these 3 things covered, believe me, getting investors should not be a problem. But remember one thing very clearly, stop, and if you're out in the market for investment, start thinking like a startup and not as an SME. Over to you, Sanjay.
Great inputs. We have another question, which I have been into exporting and importing since last 8 years. Due to the current COVID situation, other than the growth, how do we attract the talent to join us in this journey? Right recruitment. I think we've already talked about the whole idea of attracting and retaining talent. So I think we've covered that. I'm not going to take that. A specific question for Mr. Gaurav. Growing a franchise can take a lot from someone initially, especially when they have just spent a huge amount on buying it. How do you suggest one reduces and sustains on this model?
A good question. So I think I always say, if you buy a business or start a franchise, divide this whole cycle into 4 parts. The first part is really your incubation of your business. While you've taken a franchise, but it's still your own startup. You don't know the business so well. So stay away from any kind of indulgence, over marketing, nothing you should do. The first 3 months is your time to learn. You are starting your journey as an entrepreneur, and you need to learn, do every single thing in that business yourself. Every single department. If there's the back of the house, front of the house, anything which comes in, you need to really do that. It might take 3 months, it might take 4 months, and you should enjoy that. You should enjoy every week one new role which you're doing in your business. And it might be micro business, but you want to be championing that business. That at least after that, you will never have an issue of telling that, oh, this happened because I was not in control, or this happened. This is now you're in control of your business. Second stage is your what we call a stability stage, where you are now stabilizing your business. You're not having surprises every day. There is not so much of entire thing. Business is looking like entire. And that's where the third stage comes in, which is your growth. And now, because you know the science of your business, you know how it is the cost of acquisition, the cost of service, all that is there. Now you can multiply. Marketing is the business, and marketing can best come in control. Otherwise, it become a wild animal if you know what you want from them. So, which means if you've done your test and measure and you know what works for you, then you continue to grow. Yeah, that you can scale. You can just connect the dots. And finally, it goes to sustainability. That business now can run without you. which is where it becomes valuable. Because it becomes valuable, you can exit your business. I rather now tell entrepreneurs there should be start line, but very importantly, there should be a finish line. You will create wealth only when you build valuable businesses and that you exit. So, which means smart entrepreneurs know when to start and when to create an event that they can exit. And that's very, very important. If you have that mindset, then only you create wealth. Otherwise, you will always continue to ride the tiger and never get down the tiger.
Hopefully, you will be eaten by it.
Most likely, it will be eaten by it.
We have one more question by Swetang Maheshwari. What do you think is a better strategy, being a niche or having a generalist approach, especially in the service industry? I think Swetang comes from the travel and tourism industry. I think I'm going to ask Vijay, spotlight on you, Vijay. What do you think about this?
So I think these are actually two parts to it. I think Swetang has given two questions in one here. I think being a business owner of a service industry or of a business which is focused on service, I think the business owner definitely has to have a generalist approach, because he cannot have a specialist approach. Otherwise, he'll be just doing one particular thing that a business owner cannot afford. He has to overlook all the operations. But when it comes to that business, which is in that service industry, I think it has to have a niche. Because if it doesn't have a specialization or niche, it will never stand out. Like, for example, if you say that he's from travel tour industry, so if he's going to take a generalist approach, okay, I'm also doing all these things what a typical travel agent is doing, then there is no answer from him which goes out loud to the prospects or the customers that why buy from me. So I think that why buy from me is going to be addressed by the niche. What is the value that I am adding when you are buying the same thing from me rather than from my competition or from any other travel or tourism agent? I think so. A niche should be identified and should be the approach when it comes to the business part of it. But when it comes to a business owner, I think a generalist approach is definitely something that works, because he has to take care of all the functions, or at least overlook all the functions and review it. So that would be my take on the particular question in two parts.
Thank you, Vijay. And I'll add on question to what Vijay has talked about, creating a niche. And Ratish, I'd like you to address that a lot of general businesses tend to believe that there is so much competition and price is my only competitive advantage, and they're only fighting on price. What do you think, that is that the only option, or how does an SME's mindset come out of just fighting on price?
Great question, Sanjay. I think, as you rightly said, there are tons of entrepreneurs who only sell on price, and for them, and that is where I think, as in action coaching, especially, we talk about, and when we engage with with the coaches that we work with, the first step that we talked about, what is it that you stand for? What is your articulated sales argument? The ASA is also known as, most commonly, the unique selling proposition. Now, till the business owner does not understand that the ASA actually helps the business owner on two counts. One, reaching the right consumer, and number two, not being compared apples to apples, and therefore you are able to actually command a better price, and that commanding a better price actually goes and impacts where? Straight down at the bottom line. So really the key is for most entrepreneurs to understand that price is always not the issue. The issue is to how to build your brand, how to position your unique products, your unique selling propositions. And also, we are running almost short of time, but I like to bring the most used example here is Domino's, right? Now, Domino's has taken the discussion of pizza out of the table, right? Against the competition. They say we deliver in 30 minutes, period. So it's not about whether Domino's is the best pizza seller or not, but very simply, you can't deliver, or you can't get a pizza faster than Domino's 30 minutes at your home. So really, what is your articulated sales argument for your products and services? And if you are, and believe me, each of us as action coaches can work with you very strongly on this, because this is where it impacts your entire business and impacts your bottom line, builds it up. Over to you, Sanjay.
Great. And I'm to now with this closing, I would like to come to the last question, which I don't want Ratish or Vijay to answer, nor me, but Gaurav is positioned right for this. Is in this dynamic environment of businesses that we are in right now, what do you think is the relevance or the importance of having a mentor or a coach in a business?
Very important. I think I feel that no business should be without a mentor or coach, and I mean this because I have run myself a SME business. I've run business for last 28 years. I know business owner is very lonely at the top and needs to have somebody alongside, somebody who can co-share the vision, or build a vision, or bring you back to your original thinking process. And that's very, very important. And that's why I always say that date a coach, DATE, coach. Date a coach. You have dated in your life. If you are young, then you are still dating. So a data coach is a different. What coach does for you, D stands for discipline. He puts you in discipline. A stands for accountability. He makes you accountable. T stands for training. He trains you to be an entrepreneur. That you were there to take risk. You were there to grow your business. You were there to make something big in life, to make your family do better. A lot of things he trains you on. And finally, E, which is the most important part. As a business owner, nobody encourages you. He's the one who encourages you. He calls you every single day and say, this is your day. This is what you're going to do today. This is what you're bringing. It's a difficult thing to make others people shine and enjoy on that. And that's why I always say Action is a privileged company. It has senior people like Sanjay, Ritesh ji, Vijay. They're all very, very senior people. They all have worked in their own businesses, done well. Now they're here to do a service to entrepreneurs so that they can build bigger businesses and do why they started a business at the first place. When people start the business at the first place, they had a lot of goals and dreams in their mind. And as it starts coming in and you are in troubleshooting every day, you're bothered because your PN has not turned up to your office or something else happened in your life, right? And you leave the goal. So today on this Republic Day, I remind you all that you started the business for something else. There was a bigger picture. And if your picture is becoming blur, a time to date a coach.
Interesting. Thank you, Gaurav. I think we have now run out of time. I take this opportunity to thank our panelists, Ratish Pandey, Vijay Johar, and Gaurav Maurya. Really, really good, awesome inputs that I think is a perfect start for this building the best 2022 that we can have going ahead for our businesses and our lifestyles itself. So thank you very much. Very valuable inputs. Over to you, Mansi. We're back to you.
Thank
you,
you.
Sanjay,
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the whole panel, and thank you, the moderator, as well. It takes all the questions. I think we had a power-packed conversation here. And as someone wrote, it was really powerful to listen to everybody and all the insights that everyone has given. I also thank the audience for joining us. You can get in touch with our coaches and with Mr. Gaurav Maurya through LinkedIn. They're all on LinkedIn. You could write to them. You can add them there and put in your requests. There are some questions that we could not take up today. I'm sure you can all also directly reach out to our coaches and ask them for their guidance. And with this, I'd like to close this session. Great having you all here. Thank you so much. And do reach out, and we will also put in the comment section of how do you write to all of our panelists here today. So thank you, everybody.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Thank you.